Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the financial knowledge and the banking awareness part of it. Okay. And since last few lectures, what we have started, basically we have started our discussion over NHB. Okay. So NHB basically stands for National Housing Bank, right? That was the topic we have been discussing since last few lectures, you can say. All right, and basically we had seen several aspects like the NHB is a wholly owned subsidiary of Reserve Bank of India, was established through the NHB Act 1987, but the establishing year is 1988. Okay, and also we had discussed that it is an apex institution in the field of housing sector. All right, so these are the things which we had discussed about the NHB, National Housing Bank. Okay, and in the previous lecture we had completed several facts and figures also. Okay, like this is the list we have to be covered in this lecture. Basically we had done with the NHB overview, its regulation authority, its objectives, its functions, initiatives, and also about PMAY. Okay, so if I'm ask you what do you mean by PMAY, then it stands for Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, right? And if I ask you the question, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana having how many segments? How many phases or segments you can say in PMAY? How many segments are there? So if you remember in the previous lecture when we were discussing about the PMNY, then we had discussed that basically it is for urban and it is for rural also. All right, that's what we had discussed. For urban, it is basically the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana urban, right? For this it was basically Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana rural. Okay, so this is just an you can say small type of revision. All right, remember PMAY urban, PMAY rural. All right, so we had completed this topic also and we had completed till now. All right, I hope that you have revised the previous lecture properly before you have come for this lecture, as I told you so many times that it is for your own benefit. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the SATHEE. That's the correct spelling. Okay, and then we left with the summary part. All right, so let's start. Okay, so basically right now what we are going to cover, basically we are going to cover the SATHEE Act. This one you can say. Okay, so here the thing which is very important is the definition, or you can say it's basically the full form. Okay, so please remember the SATHEE, it stands for Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Financial Securities Interest Act. Okay, sometimes you may be seen a short form of SATHEE and you will be asked to mark the correct full form. Okay, and because the full form is long, then it's become very essential that you must be revise it on a regular basis so that you should keep this thing in your mind. Okay, so SARFAESI, again I am repeating it. SARFAESI stands for Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act. All right, got it? Now let's move forward. Thereafter, in the field of SARFAESI, basically we had the overview. Okay, what do you mean by the SARFAESI exactly? Let's look at it. The Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Financial Security Act, SARFAESI in short, is crucial legal framework in India. Okay, first of thing we have come to know about that it is having the legal force. So that's why it's known as the legal framework in India that empowers financial institutions, okay, the institutions which are indulging themselves into financial activities, including housing finance companies, HFCs, to take possession of and sell mortgage properties in the event of borrower default. Okay, basically, let me tell you one thing which I had also told you in the previous lectures, but here I am going to revise it. Okay, suppose this is the bank. All right, the bank having two primary objectives. What are these? First is, second is. First objective is accepting deposits. Okay, second objective is lending loans. Okay, these are the two prime works or objectives you can say of the bank. All right, right now what we will discuss about this part, lending loans. Okay, suppose if this is Mr. X. All right, this is Mr. X. Mr. X want a loan of rupees 1 lakh or 5 lakh, you can say. For example, we will take 5 lakhs. Okay, he want to have a loan of rupees 5 lakh. Okay, so for this he will reach the bank. Okay, he will ask for rupees 5 lakh loans. But what happens here? Apart from the checking of eligibility criteria, processing through internal policies and all that, what he will ask for, basically he will ask for the security. It's like if you are borrowing rupees 5 lakh from the bank, you must deposit something, or you can say this is known as the mortgage. In banking terms, it is known as the mortgage. Okay, you have to deposit something. This could be any artifact, could be anything, okay, could be any land or whatsoever with the bank, okay, as a mortgage. Okay, and this mortgage should be equivalent in value to the loan granting. If you are asking for 5 lakh loans, then this mortgage must be valued at 5 lakh. Okay, why it is happen? In case Mr. X defaulted means he is not able to repay his loan which he had taken from the bank. Okay, so to fill up this vacuum which will create it, the bank will sell out the mortgage. Okay, and because the mortgage was in the equivalent value of rupees 5 lakh in comparison with the loan, then the bank will repay its amount. Okay, understood? So whenever you go to the bank for loan, whatever the amount you have taken as a loan, equivalent value thing you have to submit with the bank as a mortgage. In case of your default, the bank will sell this out and then you can say recover its value. Okay, so for this they have to take the possession. If you do not have the ownership, how you will sell it? All right, so first is the possession. It means first the bank will take the ownership of that mortgage and then sell the mortgage properties in event of borrower default to recover the amount. The national housing banks plays a role in the implementation of the SARFAESI Acts as it pertains to the housing finance companies. Okay, so similar case is with the National Housing Bank, okay, and housing finance companies and housing finance institutions. The similar case with them, all right, because the other two comes under the NHB. Okay, so whenever these two grants a loan to the person, to the people for making the houses, they also ask for some mortgage in order to recover the amount in case of default. All right, so NHB here plays a crucial role, or you can say a pivotal role in the implementation of SARFAESI as far as we contains the HFCs, means housing finance companies. All right, let's move ahead. Okay, so it is the basic information regarding the SARFAESI. First is, it was enacted in the year of 2002. Okay, SARFAESI Act enacted in the year of 2002 provides a legal framework for banks and financial institutions, including HFCs, to recover their dues from borrowers by enforcing the security interest credited in their favor when granting loans. This security interest is typically in the form of mortgage on immovable properties. All right. So what we have seen here, basically SARFAESI gives the legal provision. Like suppose I have a land. The land is on my name. All right. I have submitted it with the bank against the rupees 50 lakh loans. In case I default, so legally the owner of the land is me. Okay. Until or unless I'm not binded by any legal force with the bank that in case of default, the bank will take over the ownership of that land so that the bank could sold it and recover the money. All right. So this is done by the SARFAESI. Basically, SARFAESI Act gives them the legal framework, okay, so that the bank or the financial institution can take the possession of the mortgage property and sell it out in case of any default from the borrower side. All right. And these are basically the immovable property. All right. Not a movable property. Why? Because movable property, and here we have immovable property. Movable property basically having high depreciation. Okay. Whereas immovable property basically having low depreciation. Okay. Keep this thing in your mind. Mobile property having the high depreciation. All right. Like your car, your bike. Okay. So suppose I had taken the loan of rupees 5 lakhs. Against it, I submitted my car rupees 5 lakhs. Okay. The car having 20% debt value per annum. Okay. So after some time, when I will default it, suppose after 1 year, I default it. Okay. So what will happen? If we calculate the depreciation, so 20% of 5 lakh is basically what? 5 lakh into 20% divided by 100. So it will be 10,000, right? So basically the final value of the car will be rupees 4,90,000. Okay, so you can see the loan amount superseded the recovered amount. It means the vacuum will be still there. Okay, that's the reason why instead of accepting the movable property which having the high depreciation, the banks generally prefer the immovable property which having low depreciation or no depreciation at all. All right, like having the land, plot, or whatever you can say. Okay, So that's why generally immobile properties are preferred. Now, first is NHB role in implementation. Okay, so NHB plays a role in the implementation of the SARFAESI Act, especially focusing on its application to housing finance companies, because HFCs comes under the control of NHB. Okay, this role encompasses several aspects. Like, let's begin. First is regulatory guidance. Okay, regulatory guidance. NHB provides guidance and regulatory oversight to the housing finance companies to ensure that they comply with the SARFAESI Act and related regulations. This includes setting policies and guidelines to facilitate the lawful enforcement of security interests by HFCs. Alright, the first is guidance. Okay, like on what criteria the loan should be granted. First step, okay, on what criteria the SARFAESI Act should be, you can say, exercised. For example, let me tell you one thing. Basically, as far as SARFAESI is concerned, okay, so there are two things you should keep in your mind. The first very step is payment of loan. Second is consortium. Okay, so there are two very important things. Consortium, here let me write down again in the clear form. Consortium. Alright, so basically, if we go by the first term, payment of loan, so it is said that if this is the case, that 80% of the loan amount has been paid off and the remaining is only 20%. Okay, in such a case, the SARFAESI is generally not applicable. Okay, so the bank could not sell out the mortgage property for the recovery of this 20% if the 80% has been paid off. All right, thereafter, second case, we have the consortium. Okay, consortium means not an individual financial institution provided the credit, but there is a group of banks or institutions provided credit. Okay, so this is the form of consortium in which there is a groups of banks or institutions. There is no single entity. All right, so in such a case, if there is a consortium form, suppose there are 6 institutions involved. Okay, or in such a case, the particular borrower or the buyer defaulted, so they required at least 50% or more than of it members of the group should be in favor of selling of the mortgage properties. Okay, if it is not happening, the mortgage property could not be sold out by a single entity in the case of consortium. So please remember these two things. First, payment of loan. If 80% has been paid off, for 20% only, SARFAESI could not be applicable. For consortium cases, when there is a group of financial institutions involved, then no single entity is allowed to sold out the mortgage property. It's required voting and at least 50% and more than of it should be in favor of selling out the mortgage property in event of recovering of the loan. All right. So this ensures the NHB guidelines should be according to this also. Okay, because they are using the framework of the SARFAESI. They are not running their own SARFAESI. Okay, so they might be take the action you can say related with the SARFAESI, but they could not modify the SARFAESI as per the requirements. All right. Second is the capacity building. Okay, like the potential building, you can say. NHB supports capacity building within HFCs to ensure they have the necessary expertise and infrastructure to carry out SARFAESI related functions effectively within the legal framework. Okay, like if they want to carry out the SARFAESI problem, okay, SARFAESI Act. So if they need a proper expertise of it so that they could handle the legal and professional matters properly. Okay, so that's why it is the responsibility of NHB to ensure the capacity holding by the HFCs while they exercising the SARFAESI. Okay, thereafter support and coordination. NHB collaborates with HFCs, other regulatory bodies and government agencies to ensure smooth and lawful enforcement of security interest under the SARFAESI Act. This may involve coordinating with local authorities, law enforcement and the judiciary in order of any, you can say, revocation from the borrower side of anything. Okay. Thereafter, protection of borrower rights. Okay. Under SARFAESI, not only the financial institutions and the banks have been provided with the powers, but also there is a provision for borrower rights. Okay. What are these? Let's see. While the SARFAESI Act provides significant powers to financial institutions for the recovery of dues, it also contains provisions to protect the rights of the borrowers in case of exploitation, or you can say illegal taking over of the property and selling of the property. NHB plays a role in ensuring that HFCs adhere to these provisions, including providing borrowers with due notice, opportunities for repayment and avenues for grievance redressal. Okay, due notice, opportunities for repayment, avenues for grievance redressal. Okay, so these are the borrower rights provided to the people. Promoting prudent practices. Prudent, in the previous lecture also I had told you, this stands for the cautiousness. Okay. NHB encourages HFCs to adopt prudent and ethical practices when exercising their rights under the SARFAESI Act. This includes ensuring that the sale of mortgage properties is conducted transparently and fairly. It means that what is the price of the property after selling out? If the price crossing the loan amount, suppose, just take an example, the selling price of the property is rupees 9 lakh rupees. Okay, the loan was only of rupees 8 lakh rupees. Okay, this is a loan amount, this is the received amount. In this case, if you looked at them, what you will find that there is a rupees 1 lakh excess. Okay, so this 1 lakh would be granted to whom? To the borrower. Okay, it means under SARFAESI, the institution could only recover the amount till it given. Okay, if they had given the 8 lakh, they could only hold the 8 lakh, not the 9 lakh entirely. Okay, so 1 lakh, which is the excess, will be given to the borrower. Okay, so this is for keeping the practice transparent and fairly. Responsible enforcement. NHB ensures that the HFCs act responsibly and judicially when enforcing security interests under the SARFAESI Act. This not only safeguards borrower interests but also upholds the integrity of the housing finance sector. All right. Thereafter, what we have the asset quality. Okay, by enabling HFCs to efficiently enforce security interests, NHB contributes to maintaining the assets quality and financial stability of the HFCs. This in turns helps ensure the availability of housing finance and the sustainability of the housing finance sector. All right. Now, we have finished with the SARFAESI also. Now it's a part for summary. In summary, we can say NHB plays a pivotal role in facilitating the implementation of the SARFAESI Act as it pertains to housing finance companies, HFCs. Its efforts encompasses regulatory guidance, capacity building, coordination and ensuring that HFCs adhere to responsible and ethical practices when enforcing security interest. NHB's role not only protects the right of borrowers but also contributes to the overall health and sustainability of the housing finance sector in India. Alright, so students, with this we had finished the National Housing Bank. In the next lecture, we will start with another important you can say institution. Till then, what we say thank you.